Hi, you must be either artistically inclined or very cultured that you decided to click on this video. Well done. And I've made videos discussing artistic works from Richard Tidal Blevins' Twitter poetry to classical paintings such as Neo banging out tunes. But I've come to realize that I want to use my platform to introduce a new segment where I talk about forgotten or not yet recognized artists alongside my other whatever the fuck videos, because both are important. Just kidding, I'm recently unemployed. I lost all purpose and have nothing. So regular videos Tuesday, Working Lady series on hold for obvious reasons, and let's get on to the first episode of what I've decided to call the Factual Artistic Recreational Talk Show of Poopie. That's me. Our first topic of discussion and artistic analysis is Chinese Soviet propaganda posters of the 50s. You're probably familiar with propaganda posters, especially this one, by James Montgomery Flagg. I dare you to think of a name more American. He started his career as a cartoonist at the age of 12. I'm going off topic just to make you feel even worse. If you're an aspiring artist, Kentaro Miura made Miura Ranger when he was literally 10, and it looked like this, and you're still at home sucking your mom's tit. Way back you could say that politicians were the influences of society, and propaganda posters were the fan art they commissioned so they can push their ideals onto your feed. Some of my favorite propaganda art is from the Cold War because it's the pettiest. Like this one of a cheeky little astronaut in space looking around, saying, "No guy here," and also looking like he's on a certain list of people that requires him to in fact be in outer space in order to maintain a required distance from any given playground. It captures both religious aspects of the Cold War, Americans were God-fearing and Russia pushed atheism, as well as, haha, we went to space first. It's so funny. Propaganda art is a very precise craft and still a very respected career path in countries like North Korea, wherever you need the propaganda posters. Propaganda. But let's get straight to the point now. Or should I say, okay, to the point. In 1949, the Chinese Communist Party, led by Mao Zedong, won over mainland China and thus formed the People's Republic of China. And who else was a huge commie at the time? That's right, Russia. And maintaining a good relationship with them was crucial for the advancement of socialism in the country. And that's how these propaganda posters were born. Goody. These are serene yet powerful illustrations of Chinese and Russian dudes being bulls. They really put the homo in both homicide and homosexual. How about that? Let's examine some of them and ask the question, how is this not a family postcard? He's the fun one and he's a snob that reads travel magazine, but it's okay because they complement each other's personalities well. Both of their kids suck, but they gave them each 2 shots of vodka so they can stay calm for the picture. But I'm not a homosexual man, so before beginning my analysis, I consulted with a Scandinavian language expert who's gay, just to be sure my suspicions were correct. They were. So let's begin with the first one. Let the Chinese-Soviet companionship live forever, or as I like to call it, cottagecore twinks. It depicts 2 main figures engaging in the promiscuous act of premarital hand-holding. Their broad shoulders indicate strength, but their silhouettes are rendered in soft curves and gradual shifts in shadow. A protective hand on each other's shoulder locks them into a rectangular composition, which is both aesthetically pleasing as well as indicative of their bond. A very strong bond. The illustration can be classified as socialist realism, but it also borrows from Italian divisionism. The Russian man is a bright canary yellow, while the Chinese man is a melancholic Oxford blue, on top of pure white as they sink into a backdrop of wood on wood. With their 2 fancy pet birds, which could also be symbols of peace, as well as the most important part, peaches. Throughout history, peaches have symbolized sensuality, prosperity, marriage, as well as the peach emoji, which means big butts, I think. Although the figures of the painting of the 2 men, the focus is not shown within the picture itself. This is them being proud of their new farm, of their new life together. It is for them to experience and enjoy, and for us to stand with them. This is a very wholesome and romantic piece, I must admit, but let's move on to one of a more sensual nature. The second one. I cannot personally translate what this says, but it's translated as "The friendship between Chinese and Soviet people will last forever." The title is of little importance when the message this illustration conveys is so bold and so clear. Following the key aspects of classic impressionism, it depicts two modern subjects through very loose brushwork, really in an attempt to capture the fleeting moment. This work drowns the viewer in strokes ranging from light coral to crimson, and ribbons burst and passion where skin meets skin as if silk were flame. Oof. Wood and fire are symbols of inspiration as well as love, also a predominant symbol of hell. However, not in this case with the serene Florentine and frost blue that make up the heavenly skies of the background. Fire is the only one of 4 elements that we humans can produce ourselves, so it really bridges the gap between mortals and gods. So in the case of this watercolor work, sinful lust and love are on par with something heavenly. Isn't that nice? The third and final one I will discuss in detail is companionship forever, or what historians have dubbed besties that fucked but it made their bond stronger instead of like totally weird and awkward and stuff. It's a confident display of intimacy of a non-romantic nature. They are best friends indeed, holding hands on their way to start shit, as well as both carrying a certain little book. The book is an interesting part of the composition, almost as if it's the main focus of both the illustration as well as their bond. It just says Lennon on it, but I believe this is their clever version of a burn book as seen on popular 2004 movie Mean Girls. Evidence behind this is that Lennon has pushed for religious literature to be, well, banned. Thus they nicknamed the little burn book Lennon. How witty and fun! Other posters we have today are Sweet Peace and Companionship, or Daddy bought me a new suit for a trip to Guangzhou. Also, Do's that well together stay together, and we don't allow any animosity between countries, or don't you ever talk to me, my boyfriend, or my boyfriend's boyfriend ever again. Bonus round. Our companionship is unbreakable, which shows 2 gal pals on their 3rd date, lovingly watching what is assumed to be the doors of a U-Haul close. To wrap this up, I want to say that yes, in some cultures, holding hands, hardcore hugging, and even kissing are considered displays of platonic love instead of romantic love, unlike in most Western cultures. You might have heard of the Soviet kiss, which is something straight men do. And I think it's quite nice for people who are close to not fear physical closeness, especially in our lonely, touch-starved generation of degenerates. These posters try to capture that. Unfortunately, the expressions and body language are just so intimate and lovey-dovey that it's impossible for me to view them as anything other than romantic. It's even funnier if you consider how horribly homophobic Russia was at the time. And in fact, they've been criminalizing and decriminalizing man laying with man since the 18th century. You could totally get banished to Siberia for 5 years if you were a homosexual man. Although Siberia must have been such a cool gay hangout spot at the time. No, that meme. I also got to read some really interesting comments by some butthurt dudes that were like, well then, is it gay if a son says I love you to their dad? Is that incest? My golly, that's what I meant by touch-starved generation of degenerates. Get a grip, guy on the internet. Or should I say, in propaganda poster nature, don't fuss. But yeah, you've just become way more cultured. Congratulations.